have secrets about Karl Lagerfeld that nobody in the universe knows except for me. And I'm about to share them with you now. I'm Mickey. I am the world's greatest astrologer. That is why I'm sporting my crown here. I know psyches, energies. I understand the deepest part of the human soul based on the science of the stars. Mr. Karl was something. I'm going to tell you about him, and I'm going to tell you about him based on the position of the stars when he was born, when he took his first breath, and why he was this iconic figure that was him. First of all, I'd like to offer my condolences to his friends, family, co-workers. You were privy to a very, very interesting man. As an astrologer, I'm going to go deep. I am going to show you the most intimate parts of his soul. Why he was in love with and wanted to marry his cat. Why he was this genius perfectionist. Why he had this blank look on his face all of the time. And no, it wasn't just because of plastic surgery. There is so much to astrology. I want to share it with you. I want you to understand the fullness of who Mr. Karl was and why he was with Chanel for so long as the right-hand man, as the number one guy in charge of a certain area, why he left his mark so strongly, and what you can learn from him. Karl said, I'm good when the working conditions are perfect. He said people who don't make an effort to get better get less. But the best get the best. Lagerfeld was a perfectionist of all perfectionists. As most of you know, he was a Virgo. But not only that, he had his Mercury basically conjunct his sun. So he felt the world through this Virgo space. He communicated, he had the personality of the Virgo. Okay, the Virgo is the last sign of summer. It is the time when the ancients would have been gathering and working and producing and saving and selling and making the most of their crop, of their business, of their harvest. They knew, the ancients knew, they were getting ready to fall into the fall months, fall into winter. Virgo energy is one of tenacity, of perfection, of having it just right. Mr. Karl was renowned for saying everything should operate like a Swiss watch. This is Virgo. Virgo has their act together. And when you have a conjunction with the Sun and Mercury, you have this, it's like almost a quadrupling of energy because it's explosive. It rules his mind, it rules his spirit, it rules his heart. Okay, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. The ancients looked to Mercury to communicate what was going on in the world. It was the planet, is the planet of communication. So when you have Mercury exalted in Virgo and the Sun coupled, conjunct, given a hug, given a bro hug, he's amplified Virgo. Okay, Virgo energy can be quite annoying. It is so certain that it is always right. But the thing is, it is right. Virgo is right. Virgo knows that it knows that it knows that it knows when something looks perfect. Virgo has it dialed in. Virgo has its act together. Hey guys, by the way, if you want one of these fairy tale crowns, I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about it because every time I wear it out, we get a ton of questions. And all of you who love fashion, get it at fairytalecreators.com. I'm sure that Karl would be okay with me plugging that website. We want you guys looking fantastic. When you look fantastic, you feel fantastic, and you have this energy, this confidence. And this is very much Mr. Karl. He walked in a confidence and a certainty. Well, he had his moon in Gemini. So interesting. Also ruled by Mercury. Okay, so he's very mercurial, very intelligent. It was said that he would read magazines, read newspapers, read books. Anything he could get his hands on, he was reading. And this is a Gemini spirit. This is a Virgo spirit. They want to be in the know. Okay, so he always had his finger on the pulse. He wasn't going to miss what the news had to say. He was going to be the first one to know, the first one to communicate it, the first one to react to whatever was going on in the world. Virgo Mercury, it's really interesting. He's known for saying things like, I don't know anything, I don't have anything to say, except you can ask me questions, and then I'll answer questions. This is very much Gemini. This is very much Virgo. They're not always like the ones that want to lead or the ones that want to dominate. They're not. They're the ones that want to give information. Here's some information, everybody. Here's some information. Here's what looks good. Here's what looks good. Here's what's perfect. The thing about a Virgo, they're always going to improve. If you know anybody with Virgo energy, if they've got Jupiter in Virgo, if they've got Saturn in Virgo, if they've got Venus in Virgo, they're always going to be improving their environment, improving other people. This is how they show love. Let me show you love by making you better. Okay? They hate sloppy things, sloppy people, sloppy thoughts, indecision, all of those things. Can't stand it. No tolerance for it. Irritates them completely. Completely. He would say things like, somebody may know better, but I don't know who. Okay, this is very much Virgo. When a Virgo is operating in something that they're good at, they know with certainty that they have the answer. They're really good, like second in command, third in command, fourth in command people. They're not going to be the ones that want to like completely lead out. And so his role, being able to come under another organization that was already established, have his little dreams, make his little sketches, and then work like a dog and require everybody else to work and match his level of precision. Perfect. He didn't have to worry about the marketing. He didn't have to worry about the money. He didn't have to worry about anything except for his role, which was very, very creative. Now, this is an intelligent guy. He's all air. He's all earth. He's got very little fire, very little, like no water. This is a man without emotions, okay? As close to not having emotions as one can get. Now, Gemini can have some emotions. Virgo can have some emotions. But when you're focused on the future, constantly focused on the future, water has a tendency to get people lost in the past, right? If you know somebody with heavy Scorpio, heavy Cancer, heavy Pisces, there can be depression, there can be suicide. Think Robin Williams, okay? Robin Williams had sun, moon, rising, all in water signs. There was a lot going on deep within that nobody knew about. When it came to Mr. Karl, it was just thinking how to make things better, how to make things better, how to improve. What do things look like? He was known for taking a skirt that was 1 centimeter too long in his mind and having them tear out the hem, redo it. It's his couture. It had to be perfect. It was done by hand. I'm very much like that. I remember having somebody come, a carpenter come to my house and redo, like tear out a wall and put something in new. And I could see that it was off by ½ an inch on one side. I didn't have to measure, I just knew. I stood back, I said it needs to come over by ½ an inch. And he looked at me like he was very upset that I would even question his measuring skills. And he measured it and kind of looked confused. And he measured it again. He said, "You're right. It's exactly ½ an inch. You have an eye." I'm like, "Yeah, I have an eye. I've got some Virgo placements." When you have Virgo placements, it's going to help you become so precise. If you can get into a detailed position, fantastic. And he was all about the details. Clothing is details. Looks are details. It's all about this overall picture and this package. His collections would all come together so perfectly that it was like magic. Nobody else would be able to do that. As a Gemini, the third house, the natural house of Gemini, is ruled by neighborhoods, traveling, siblings, pets. He loved his cats. Gemini, if you have a lot of Gemini energy, most people only know their sun. You shouldn't. You should know your entire birth chart. Then you understand yourself. He was in love with his cats, completely in love. And Gemini is obsessed with their animals. Mr. Karl was ruled by Mercury. He communicated through fashion. He communicated through leaving this legacy of historic, iconic fashion moments in time. And this is very mercurial. He was a communicator. He communicated through his sketches, through his dreams, and he was able to implement these amazing ideas because he had the practicality of the Virgo backing him up. And Mr. Karl had his Jupiter at 0 degrees Libra. 0 degrees Libra and 0 degrees Aries is when it's equal day and equal night. It's like everything is in perfect balance, perfect harmony for a moment's time. And he was expansive in that area. He had Jupiter right at 0 degrees Libra. Okay, this is everything about being balanced and being perfect and being beautiful. Harmony all around. Libras don't really have a lot of tolerance for emotions, especially in a chart like this where there's no water. So if people would have been crying around him, wah, wah, things aren't going my way, there would have been no tolerance. It is get the work done, be logical, be quick about it. Don't mess around. He had his Saturn in Aquarian at 10 degrees. Okay, so he's got kind of this loose, grand air trine, which is very powerful. It's super intellectual. His moon in Chiron, sitting in early degrees Gemini. He was an intellectual man of all intellects. And he didn't give that many interviews, which is interesting. He was much more intelligent, probably, than most people thought. And he had a way of reinventing himself, staying ahead of what people might think that he should be or could be, constantly surprising. And with that air energy, it was just amplified. His intelligence, his logic, he was something. He was something. Quite beautiful, quite fascinating. He had a tiny bit of Scorpio. His Mars was in Scorpio, exalted there. Scorpios aren't so obvious, okay? You'll notice he always sort of had the blank and held himself, certainly not like me, where I throw myself around a little bit with my fire energy. He was more contained. And with that Scorpio placement, there would be this underlying passion. and perhaps even this element of taking vengeance when he needed to take vengeance. Slow, wouldn't be obvious about it, and certainly wouldn't get caught, because a Scorpio doesn't get caught at those things. A Scorpio is going to play it on the down low. That's really interesting about him. Mr. Karl also had his Venus in the sign of Libra. Now, I love Libra. It's all about beauty. It's all about friendships. And so with him, he was very happy having big friend circles around, and kind of the peace that came with knowing that he had this entourage, okay? So for him, that was love, friendship, partnership. He was private, he wasn't real big on social media, and we know he admired some lovers, some young, beautiful lovers, right? So that's very Libra too. A Libra wouldn't just want to fall in love with somebody who wasn't up to par beauty-wise, because for Libra, beauty is life. And with Venus here, it's all about beauty. It's all about beauty and class and knowing what you like. Maybe being like a little indecisive sometimes when it came to lovers or commitment, but very sure of wanting to have people around that were beautiful. The whole models thing, models, runways, photographers, beautiful people, the cameras, very, very Libra. Now, an interesting thing about Mr. Karl's chart is his Venus sits on a star that is known as the lying star. He lied. He lied a lot. He lied about his age. He lied about the position of his family. He exaggerated. He made his history mean what he wanted to make his history. And he made his current the way that he felt it should be. He made his future the way that he could design it. This star is not necessarily bad. It just triggers you to see things in a more exaggerated fashion and to not have any qualms about speaking your truth and not feeling guilty about it one bit. I'm not going to get into the outer planets, but Mr. Karl did have his Rahu and his Saturn in Aquarian. And anywhere you have Saturn, it's where the pain comes. Being in the 11th house of groups, he probably had some sort of pain around feeling like he really fit in. And I don't know where that would be, but being in the 11th house, it could be groups that were unusual. Groups like, the LGBT group. Maybe there was just something where he never felt 100% right. Or his ideas were so different that maybe he didn't feel always appreciated and honored. Even though he may have had this feeling in the back of his mind that he wasn't ever going to be as good as he should be, as he could be. And with Saturn representing the father, probably had this distance, but there wouldn't have been probably a real tight relationship, because Saturn in Aquarian's just a cold sign. It's distant. It doesn't really have any feelings. It doesn't have strong emotions, just in and of itself, the sign of Aquarian. So with a couple of strong placements there, he probably would have had some pain around the father not being as close to him. But because he was so logical, I feel quite certain that he would have made sense of it. Well, it's probably good because of da-da-da-da-da. Now, with this grand air loose trine, this is a man with extreme intelligence. I heard that he taught himself the languages of English and French by the time he was 6. Crazy. Now, I've lived in Holland. I lived in the Netherlands for 4 years. And I know that language is just something that's a part of the European cultures. You know, they've always done a lot of trade. Those countries sit one on top of another. And so if you wanted to be in the know, you would learn the languages. They teach the languages in school at an early age. The Dutch knew 4 languages, at least, very fluently by the time they graduated college or high school, as we call it here in the States. So he had this incredible intelligence. And the Germans, the Dutch, there was a coldness to those cultures. And I think he probably appreciated the French, the kissing, the more love, because he wouldn't have had that in his natural home of Germany. Mr. Karl would have gotten bored, terribly bored, with people, ideas, same old, same old. He's probably constantly redecorating his homes, redoing the collections, upgrading. Geminis get bored. And with a Gemini moon placement, he most certainly would have wanted to keep advancing. What a great position for him to have fallen into. And he entered a contest and won it for designing, was it a coat? I can't remember. He entered this contest, and that would be very Gemini. Gemini can be pretty fearless. They can take risks and do things without even thinking. They can be pretty fast. Oh, there's a contest. Let me sketch, let me submit. All right, that's a Gemini. Sometimes they have so much going on that it can cause a lot of confusion in their minds, in their environments. But he had the Virgo, which was very pragmatic, very systematic. This was an iconic man. This was a man who walked through life as if it was a Swiss watch, precise, pragmatic, with a knowing that life is somewhat logical. There was no time, no room to look back. Mr. Karl left his mark. He lived by his astrology. He lived through his art and his creativity and his perfection. He lived by knowing what looked good. He knew what looked good above and beyond all else. He had 3 placements in Virgo, his Neptune, his Mercury, and his Sun, all hugging in unison, saying, we want the world to be more beautiful, more elegant. We want to upgrade. We want everything and everybody to upgrade. What an interesting character. What a person to honor. What a person to know. I've done other readings for other celebrities, and I've gotten emotional because of my water and seeing the beauty in their chart. This one, he's all logic. So why shouldn't I be? I'm Mickey. I'm your favorite astrologer. You should definitely get a reading from me. I can predict your future. My daughter and I do it together. It's an in-depth movie that you get about an hour to an hour and a half. You'll love it. Talk about how all of the planets cooperate, communicate. And remember, if you want a crown, there are so many designs at fairytalecreators.com. Mr. Karl, we salute your brilliance. We salute you and your logic and the way you made the world more beautiful and showed us all what high standards are. What a guy.